Friends, namaste. Another Sunday evening, 8 p.m. Indian Standard Time, when we are back with your favorite program, Words of Wisdom, Gyan Ganga, on our Virat Hindustan Sangam social media channels. Today is episode 175. We regret that due to the Diwali vacation and the weekend, we could not have two programs on the 23rd of October and the 30th of October. But we are back with our episode 175 with Dr. Subramanian Swamy as usual. And today we have a very interesting and important topic. Does Hindutva of the 20th century require restructuring for the 21st century? And for the next 40 to 45 minutes, we will be discussing this with Dr. Swamy and our two co-host, Professor Arvind Chaturvedi of Delhi and Mr. Ramesh Swamy. I have to thank my technical team who does all the background work technically and social media and other things, flyers, etc. I have to thank Ashish Shetty, Tejas Navalgul, Swaminathan, Ishwar Iyer, Gadgi Rakesh, Vishal Mehta, and Ajesh Nair for their support they give us week after week for this important show which we host on every Sunday. So, with this opening remarks, I see Dr. Swamy in a new background, but it looks like the same place where he got the famous stay on Ram Setu, the place from where he put the corrupt 2G culprits behind bar, won the victory in the Supreme Court against the cancellation of the 2G licenses, and perhaps the same place from where he filed the criminal case against Sonia Gandhi and Rahul Gandhi and others on which these people are out on bail. So, Swami, back from your original chair, and it's nice to see you in that place where you have won many victories, legal victories for Hindutva and against corruption. So, with these remarks, it's over to Dr. Swamy to initiate this discussion. Does Hindutva of the 20th century require restructuring for the 21st century? Thank you. Dhanyavad.
Thank you, Jagdish. First, a few clarification on facts. The 20th century began with the year 1900. The 20th century, now we are in the 21st century, although it began with 2000. So in 1899, a businessman turned campaigner for Hindus by name Chandranath Basu. He was the one who first coined the word Hindutva, and not Savarkar. Savarkar, of course, one has to say, gave it substance, gave it a framework, gave it the basic nitty-gritty of what it means to be Hindutva. Many of it he had to revise because it was a new effort. But we'll never forget Savarkar for the book he wrote on 1857, the First War of Independence. That fired up everybody, and I think his contribution to Hindutva is not as important as the mind making up, mind firing book on the 1857 war, and that was a tremendous work of research, perspective, and so on. Now, why I'm saying this is that both Chandranath Basu and our the issues of that were raised subsequently, they really dealt with an identity crisis, and not in a substance and structure of Hindutva. What is Hindutva in the first place? It's a Sanskrit word, a well-established Sanskrit word, which says the Hindu-ness of Hindus. What do you mean by Hindu? Just praying to Ram and Lakshman? No, or Krishna? No. It is actually a case of where uh, uh, you it's a case of where you have the essence of Hinduism reflected in your actions. So Hindutva is the cultural facet that you display. And what is that? Well, at that stage in the whole of the 20th century, it more or less developed as Hindutva as an identity. That I'm a Hindu, and that means this, and so on. But not that I am a Hindu and I have many dimensions of thought on economics, on politics, on democracy. All these things which have over the years been in a sort of haphazard manner been spoken of. Integral humanism, for example, is a masterly thesis on economics of Dindal Upadhyay. But neither Vajpayee's government nor Modi's government has done anything whatsoever to make it as a part of the syllabus. They teach us the rubbish called Marxism. Marxism is all bogus. And I remember Paul Samuelson proved it mathematically that everything about Marxism is contradictory. Mathematically, he proved it. If A is true, then B cannot be true. And that is, A and B both cannot be true. One of them has to be ejected. And that means the whole thesis was disrupted. But integral humanism, unfortunately, Dindal Upadhyay was assassinated. But we must recognize that this thesis should have been a compulsory teaching in every college, right from Vajpayee's period and at least till from Modi's period. Still, that they teach that same bunkum that used to be taught earlier, history. So economics, history, political, theology. That is, democracy means what and how is it to be structured. What is natural for Hindus in terms of democracy. And when I go on saying Hindu, I'm not excluding anybody. You see, we found that we have found. I mean, I have found after reading all the history that there are only two communities which are not melting culturally with the rest of Hindus, with the Hindus. The Parsis are, they are a totally different religion. They came as refugees from Iran, but they have absolutely accepted the cultural part. They dress like us, they talk like us, they eat our kind of food, and so on. So they speak Gujarati. They don't speak Persian, and they have no desire. Although they invented the language of Persian, the Muslims only adopted it. Today, Iran its official language is Persian, but the Islam has nothing to do with the Persian language. It is the Parsis language which is adopted. But in India, the Zoroastrians, as they are called, they culturally don't make any difference with the rest of Hindus. Similarly, the Jews. I remember when General Jacobs was leading our army. The Pakistanis were objecting, saying, "Oh, India has deliberately put a Jew to insult us Muslims," and so on and so forth. But the rest of India, they thought of him as a hero. And so Jews are heroes. Anyway, we are friends of Israel, so it doesn't matter whether this man thinks or that man thinks. Jews are more kinship. In fact, Dan and Saraswati had put up a team in which I was also included in terms of my knowledge of law. And the highest priestly community of the Jews came to India. We had a conference, then we went there, and they had a conference in the where the Jewish scholars, they all said that you have all so many gods and so on and so forth. And we are not like that. We have, only one God. So there is that fundamental difference that has to be worked out. So Dayanand Saraswati came up with the thesis that for us, Ishwar is only one. And all these are manifestations of Ishwar. They are not separate theology. And that the rabbis, the chief rabbi of Israel, accepted and said, yes, from now on, we Judaism and Hinduism, they are sisters, and they are together. So these are the things that during the 20th century was going on. What are the various tenets and so on. But as time has gone on, many things have happened, and now we have entered into 21st century. And in this 21st century, these things all matter. And that's why I have done some research, and then I thought I should try it out first on our what shall I say, on our VHS network, and then maybe we'll have a big convention where we'll call all kinds of people. Now, take for example, uh, in the entire 20th century, there was no attack on the Hindus. Hindus were, there's crazy ideas. They've got crazy ideas. They burn somebody. They celebrate somebody, and when I was a student at Harvard, I remember everybody used to make fun. How can you follow monkeys? And how can you worship snakes? And these are kind of things that we. But today, the challenge of Hinduism has become different. Now, don't underestimate the fact that a Hindu has become a prime minister of Britain. This was the country which came and conquered us, and they said that they are civilizing us. Macaulay gave a whole minute in Parliament where for 3-4 hours he expounded why Britain should make India an Anglo-Saxon country culturally and so on. All that's gone. Now the fear is Hinduism swallowing us? In the first round, when I was a student, I remember the Westerners so upset with yoga. Is any Westerner today upset with yoga? They have accepted it. They are all practicing yoga. There may be some silly attempts like Christian yoga and that kind of thing, but by and large, everybody knows this is the Hindu contribution. Similarly, you have all these breathing exercises. Besides yoga, they have a recitation. If you, as I have been repeatedly saying in so many of my speeches, go to Google and write St. James School and Sanskrit. And what will you get? That school, which is an elite school in London, of only white, I think almost all, if not only, white children. And that principle has laid down that all these students from the ages of 6 to 11 will assemble in the morning before classes and recite for 30 minutes Sanskrit shlokas. And you have to see the Google. I mean, if you find this fantastic and unbelievable, that's because your own inferiority complex. Go to Google and see and what it is say. So here we have this. And this has frightened the West intellectuals. And they are coming up with all kinds of things. And that's why all of you should read this latest book of Rajiv Malhotra, which is called Snakes in Ganga. I mean, he says that Ganga is pure, but all these snakes have come in, and now Ganga is no more what Ganga is. So we have to fight. And he has systematically shown you how you are being targeted. Just now, today, there was a British commission which has exonerated the Hindus in Leicestershire, in a small suburb area of, I mean, it's a small town, where the local whites had accused the Hindus of having caused the riot. And in fact, there's a huge movement, and that's why the Hindu becoming the prime minister is not a joke, because the undercurrents are all against it. So the Muslims are, in fact, the Labour Party and all, they fraternize the Muslims. It's not that all Muslims are on one side. There are a large number of Muslims from India who want to be treated as Indians, and unfortunately, we have not been able to put what needs to be put across. So let me say that the 20th century Hindutva was just the Hindu-ness of Hindus. That if you put a tika, and if you believe that there is you can be reborn, rebirth, these are various things which there. That is what was thought. And to say that time was blasphemous, because then immediately the British authorities will say these are fanatics and so on, and we have to be very careful, because then the next thing is they will start saying that we should leave India. So it was essentially a identity problem. Today we have over the years gone to, because we have prospered, our chaps have gone abroad and they've demonstrated. We have scientists who have got Nobel Prize, like Chandrasekhar, and of course much earlier C.V. Raman, and so many others have since then got it, Khurana and so on. But the fact is, slowly this has become clear. These Hindus, they are really brainy people, and that's being completely to be accepted. But they also say their beliefs are scientific, and people have forgotten. But I would advise you to go back to Google and find out, type um, the name of Miller, editor of Newsweek, where she wrote a 3-page editorial on Newsweek, which is a common man's magazine, or middle class magazine, which she said, now we are all Hindus. And in 2009, when I saw it, I just began campaigning on my Hindutva ideology. I was shocked. I said, how can a Christian Anglo-Saxon say that we are all Hindus? So she starts saying, wherever I go, people talk about yoga. Wherever I go, people talk about breathing. Wherever I go, they say we cremate our people after they're dead, because it's just a body. The soul is gone. So she says, look at the amount of savings of money we would make and property if we didn't bury people. In fact, you have to go to see New York, the most prestigious properties is just full of graves. You know, and then you have to look after it also, and come there and put flowers to show that you care and so on. So she mentioned all these, that the Hindus have scientific approach to life, and we have to start learning it and not go by it. And that time people started coming to India. So there was a very famous actress, Julia Roberts, Oscar winning. She came to India, and she completely convinced. She converted, went back to the United States, converted her husband and children also to Hindu, and they go to temples. And she recently gave a statement that I go to temples, I celebrate Hindu festivals. So it's what I'm saying is this Hindutva has become multi-dimensional, not one-dimensional, and this is that multi-dimensional thing that I'm arguing today, that you must recognize, we must recognize, and that multi-dimensional thing is not only appreciation but also condemnation is taking place. There's, the entire academic staff which is left wing or is being financed by the Islamic world. They are attacking the Hindus. They are making sure that the students of America are given textbooks in which all kinds of rubbish is written, and so on. They target. What was I target? I was Harvard's one of the most brilliant students according to Samuelson and Simon Kuznets. And at a time when they thought Indians had tails in like monkeys, I was made in I was allowed to take the general examination in 6 months, which most people take 4 years, and I passed it. And not I passed, I passed on the top of the grade. And then they made me have a young assistant professor, associate professor. Then I decided to come back to India, and then of course I went back as visiting professor many times to Harvard, and suddenly all of a sudden the Indians like Amartya Sen and industrialists like Tata and all these people, they, at the behest of Sonia Gandhi, they poured into Harvard. They, all these India studies in religion, which are constantly distorting, they put them together, and without giving me an opportunity, which is basic democratic principle, without giving an opportunity, behind my back, they didn't say anything. They said because he said in an article in a Bombay newspaper that Muslims of India should accept that after partition that they belong to India, which is a Hindu country, and they should adopt a Hindu customs which doesn't don't clash with their religion. And otherwise, we will have to tell them that, listen, why did you force us to have why did you stay in India? You should have stayed in Pakistan, where you are free to be practice your religion as you like. We are in our country. It is wrong to think that we have freedom to practice any religion as we like, only in the theology part, but not in the cultural side, where there's no requirement in that. Why is the Constitution of India having uniform civil code? Isn't that interference in the religion of Muslims? But we say no. You should read the debates, and you should read. In fact, you should read Ambedkar. I mean, what a man he was. He wrote a thesis. He wrote a paper for a seminar in 1916 in Columbia University, where he went to get a PhD in economics. And it was how India is one country, how Indian values are all the same. And then after that, getting a PhD, went to London School, got his DSc, and then after that, he got a law degree, came back to India, and he did this wonderful work on the Constitution. And Nehru targeted him. Nehru is something like, I think, Narendra Modi. He can't stand anybody else. So he targeted him, and he saw to it that his booth agents were all removed, and Ambedkar lost his deposit twice in a Lok Sabha election. That broke his heart. And finally, he then said, I don't want to be this Sanatani types. I want to be a Buddhist. Everybody, all the Christian leaders, Muslim leaders came to him saying, no, you come to us, we'll celebrate you. No, he says, my basic values are common to the Hindus, and I will be a Buddhist. Of course, in our constitution, Ambedkar put that a Hindu means, besides the Sanatana Dharmi and etc., it also means Sikhs and Jains and Buddhists. It's there in Article 29. Please go and read it. I tell people they don't believe it. Then bring the constitution. They said, are you sure it wasn't amended later? I said, no. I can take you to the Constituent Assembly debates and show Ambedkar arguing this. So I am saying that we didn't appreciate such people. And they latched on to one sentence of the great man who propagated propagated the Hindutva, and that was Savarkar. And Savarkar only he corrected himself. later on. He began by saying that a Hindu is one who has the same blood as the rest of it. So that of course is not true, because the Muslims who converted some generations ago, they're, according to DNA studies, all Muslims, Christians, Hindus, Sikhs, everybody has the same DNA. Even the DMK people have the same DNA as us. So therefore, I think what needs to come out is that what is it that we are saying? Here I will boast about the fact that when we set up the Virat Hindustan Sangam and the VHS, and then in the convention we said that Hindutva means what your identity is. Hindutva means why you should learn Sanskrit. Hindutva means why you must accept Dindayal Upadhyay's integral humanism. Why it's why Ramayana and all should be your guide for political behavior. And so all these 5 points that we put there. At that time, it was not part of anybody's Hindutva ideology. If you went and talked to even a RSS person or a VHS person or a VHP person or any of them, they were only talking about Hindu religion, Hindu religion. And it's not their fault. That was what the 20th century was about. But today, after all this intermingling with the people like us, there's much more a sophisticated presentation. Rajiv Malhotra, I would consider as the model for us, for a Hindu intellectual. He should be treated as number one. He should be given Bharat Ratna. He should be celebrated, because look at the research he has done. I mean, I'm a person who has done a lot of research. I've joint authored with Paul Samuelson. But when I see his research, I'm amazed. You see, how does this man? And you should know his background. He was a top intellectual of a high-tech company. Electronics company or whatever that is called, IT company. And at the age of 44, he just resigned. He came back, and all the savings he made into trusts and gave it to his children, his wife, and said, "Now on, I am going to do only for this." And he started breaking India, and now so many. He has done a book on artificial intelligence. Please read it. This book says what we have already been propagating all these years in our conferences, and that is that artificial intelligence ultimately will have to store knowledge in only one language, and that is Sanskrit. It's there in NASA report. You could just go to Google and type in Google that Sanskrit and artificial intelligence. You'll get all the connections. So therefore, these are the things that these are the things that should be brought out. Hindutva is not whether you're a Chutia or you're Politica and all that. Those are, yes, those are okay. I mean, those are identities that we should welcome. But the fact is that the core item is a multi-dimensional personality, and that personality, number one, know who you are. You are the same people, right from Himalaya to Indian Ocean, from Junagadh or the western part of India, all the way to the eastern part. All the people there, except those who came as migrants, a handful here and there, they all have the same DNA. DMK people have the same DNA as any Brahmin in India. And I used to challenge Karunanidhi. You want to let me come with me? I said, challenge the Ovesi also. In Hyderabad, they have the finest laboratory, microbiological laboratory. Come with me and test your DNA, and my DNA will be the same. But he has refused to do so because naturally, you know, as an educated man, he knows what it is. So, so first is know who you are. We are one people. We have not come from anywhere. We may have gone somewhere, but we have not come from anywhere. This is the birthplace of the Hindu. Number two, and I say Hindustan because Muslims who are willing to be acceptable to, I mean, we're willing to accept our brotherhood. We include them as Hindustanis, that is, those who belong to the land of Hindustan. And they Muslims also accept that. But you don't have to push anything down their throat. But those who imitate the Middle East, they say four wives I have a right, I have talak right. All that, sorry, that doesn't come with our constitution. It's against our constitution. So first of all, who are we? We are one people. Our DNA is the same. There's no such thing as Aryan, Dravidians, all bakwas, nonsense. And so this two, we must our common language from which all other languages have come is Sanskrit. So all of us should start the process of learning Sanskrit. I can't make it compulsory overnight, but it is a process you can start. And Sanskrit can be taught. I know the RSS has a body called Sanskrit, to teach Sanskrit. And that I have been to that thing, and I was amazed. In 10 days, you are able to converse Sanskrit. So if you can do that, there are villages like in Karnataka where the people in that village speak only Sanskrit and no other language. So Sanskrit is a common language. Now lawyers, judges like Ganguly, etc. These great lawyers, they have said in their judgments, you can Google it and get it. They have said in their judgments that the best argument, the present English arguments in that we move in the courses, is named after somebody, and that is a flawed logic because there are a lot of confusions in what this word means. And say the beauty of Sanskrit is that one word means exactly one word or one meaning. So Justice Ganguly advocated in a judgment that the Sanskrit principles of arguments that should be the Sanskrit principles, they should be used in the arguments when you argue in court. Now, someday I'll do a special session on that. How is it different from the English law? And therefore, I would say here is an example why Sanskrit is important. Sanskrit is important for artificial intelligence. Sanskrit is for your brain improvement. This is at St. James School. I'm not saying this. I, as an Indian, should be ashamed of myself that I'm not saying it. But there are others now who are recognizing it. So Sanskrit is number two. Then the not merger, but the bringing together of materialism and spiritual values. Now, why is a Brahmin poor, but he's in top of the society? Of course, there's no such thing as a born Brahmin, because as Krishna says very clearly, these are gunas. You have those gunas, you become. And that's why Valmiki became. Why Vishwamitra became a Brahmin after being born in a Kshatriya family? Because he practiced the values, the Jnani, Tyagi, Sahasi, three things. No Brahmin should be a coward. And I can tell you many Brahmins who claim to be Brahmins today are big cowards. He has to be a jnani. He must be well read, and he must be knowledgeable. Must be in a position to teach people. And then you have jnani, tyagi, and sahasi. Tyagi means it's very simple. In fact, the olden days, the Brahmins used to go and beg. So, in that sense, I will try to conclude so that others can participate and we can have more sessions. We may even have a special session for this in our VHS. But uh, one, know your identity. You're one people. Don't make any difference. No scheduled caste, no Brahmin, nothing. They're all the same, and our DNA is the same. So that's one people. Two, you must learn Sanskrit. Sanskrit is your language for knowledge, for education, etc. Law also. Third, you should not aspire to be a rich person. In America, you go, everybody wants to be a rich person. But in India, people give it away. Look at Jayaprakash Narayan, how he used to roam around. I mean, he got a degree from America. I know him. He could have been he could have made a lot of money. He refused deputy prime ministership offered by Jawaharlal Nehru. So, Gandhi also. I mean, people say he did a drama, but the fact is, what he was trying to prove is, if I am to lead the people, I must be like a Brahmin. So, therefore, Gandhi was that. Sardar Patel. Only Jawaharlal Nehru was a fraud, and I know some other frauds today who claim to be great spiritualists, but enjoy all the nasty things about of life. So these things, these are the ways. So the third, the as I say, the spiritualism and economic development. There must be a, a uh, an adjustment that should take place. So that's why the person who wrote the after Kautilya, Kautilya is of course very difficult to understand, but Deen Dayal Upadhyay is somebody who you can learn from. You read his book, Integral Humanism. He's done a very small. I've written also a book where I've elaborated mathematically Deen Dayal Upadhyay's thesis. And finally, the decentralization of our politics. It's all getting centralized now. In our ancient times, we used to have people disagreeing, opposing, in open. You just see Mahabharata, you see Ramayana. Do you think that Rama didn't have opposition? He was opposed by Lakshman himself. He said, how can he get monkeys and take them there? So then again, there was a big protest from Hanuman when Ravan's brother, Vibhishana, he defected and came over to Ram. And of course, Ravan had kicked him out. So, I mean, he didn't defect, really, strictly speaking. And what did Rama do? As soon as he came, he welcomed him, garlanded him, and crowned him. Said the next king of Sri Lanka would be Vibhishana. And he never wavered from that. On that, Lakshman was very angry. Why? We could have made this as part of Ayodhya also. Such a rich, beautiful place. So these are value systems in politics. And that's also very important. So I will say 21st century should be a new ideology. Hindutva shouldn't be just Hindu-ness. It should be a new ideology of these 5 points, which we have been propagating in our VHS. So, and then perhaps have one book for each of those 5 qualities so it can be told. Or get people like like Rajiv Malhotra and others to write on it, and let's see whether it can be done in a big way. Ashok Singhal wanted to do it, but he didn't live long, but unfortunately. But I think time has come for us in the 21st century to be 21st century Hindus. This is what I want to say. Thank you very much for this opportunity.
Dr. Swamy, I have a question that politically, political parties being in power, whether it is in kingdoms or in the present democratic system and all that, the government has also an important role to play in all this, whether it is
Yeah,
restructuring and all that. So,
yeah.
what would be your main emphasis as far as what government can do about it? Because what happened, we may today time being talk about a present government and all that, but we are talking about Hindutva for the next now almost 78 years, I mean, of this century.
No, no, I would
So
say if supposing a government comes which is sincere about a cultural revolution in India, then they should make Sanskrit compulsory. Start like that. Two, you must have genuine history books. And third, you should say maximization of profit, maximization of utility that we all are taught in economics. No, it is optimization, which is the other variable, your spiritualism. So a blend of spiritualism and materialism, that should be taught in economics. And so there are many things that can be done immediately, and people will become. And we have to recognize that in Hindus, women have played a tremendous role, which is all not come in any of history books. Take, for instance, the debate between Mandana Mishra, the greatest spokesman of Buddhism, and Shankaracharya, the greatest spokesman of Advaita. And they have a debate. So the first thing they say is, who can be the umpire? So Shankaracharya says to Mandana Mishra, your wife is a scholar too. She should be the umpire. So Shankaracharya's all his the disciples, they said, "My God, what has he done? Uh, he's put his wife." But the wife found her husband and gave the logic on it why he had lost to Shankaracharya. And that's how Mandana Mishra became the first Sringeri Acharya, and he opened the Shankara Mutt in Sringeri. So we have, and then of course there's Gargi, there's Rani Jhansi. I mean, she's a fighter. Rani Chennamma in Karnataka, another fighter. How many fighters? You just sit if you get your genuine history, see, women played an equal, in fact, in valor, much more than men. But this is not taught. We have to teach that. All this dowry and women and rape and so on. These are all because we have not been taught our true Hindu tradition. And for one Draupadi, they went for war and destroyed everybody. And so, for one Sita, I mean, Rama was a king. He could have married any number of times, but he married only one. And she was kidnapped, and he didn't bother. Everything forgotten. Go and rescue her. Of course, there are a lot of people who twisted. He made her go through fire that's not why he made her go. She was actually a Chaya Sita, and so to bring back the genuine Sita, he had to do this thing by making her go through the fire. So people haven't read the original. Nobody has read the Valmiki's original. So these are things that we need to do.
Arvind, your next question.
Yeah, Dr. Swamy, you have described the Hindutva, Hinduism, and Hinduness, the difference between these three different words which are used to describe the religion. a Hindu religion is so colossal. There has been attempt to reform for several decades, I mean several centuries. For example, we start with 19th century Swami Dayanand Saraswati, who brought in Arya Samaj, Raja Ram Mohan Rai, who brought in Brahmo Samaj. We have Swami Vivekananda, Ramakrishna Paramhansa, Prarthana Samaj. I mean, then there are so many sects. I mean, so there has been attempt to reform Hinduism over a period of time, and every now and then, maybe every 50 years, every 60 years, there is a voice. Now, what is the essence that has to be changed, and what is the essence that has to be retained?
You see, all these people who you have mentioned were the 20th century people. They basically wanted to modernize the religious precepts. I am saying that if you want Hindutva, then that essence of Hindu should come in the military. By the way, in the military, to go through World War II reports and files I've been through as a minister, because I was trying to search for Subhash Chandra Bose at that time, and the task was given to me by Chandrasekhar, because there were some ashes in some temple in Tokyo, uh, where they wanted to send it back to India, and whether we should accept or not, it was a question which I had to answer for Chandrasekhar. So at that time, I looked at all that. So the whole structure of our religion was to remove unpleasant things, which especially the Western world has uh, told you is unpleasant, and try to modernize it. Um I am talking of a multidimensional thing. You are a Hindu if you believe in profit maximization and utility maximization, nothing else, then you can't be a Hindu. You have a one-track mind for profit, whether it's emotional profit or a financial profit. But that's all you're interested in. If you treat women as people who can be divorced, or you can have 4 children, 4 wives, but the women cannot have 4 husbands. Or the women should be only taught so much, and then after that, you see, there's a dowry problem, so you have to save money. All these, I'm not talking anymore of sati, because sati is now outlawed. But broadly speaking, you must make man and women equal. They are not equal in every aspect. The men are stronger physically than women, but then brain-wise, women are certainly equal, if not more. And if you look at the competitive exams, I find number one, number two, three, all are women. So if you look at Durga, if you look at Lakshmi, if you look at Saraswati, these are the most important things of life, and you don't have a male god for it. You have women god for it. These things have to be put into your brain. And therefore, then in schools, there will be no eve teasing, nothing of that kind. So I am talking about a 5-dimensional approach. These people who came with these reforms, they are all one-dimensional. No untouchability, no this, no that, all around the same thing. Let me tell you that our scriptures say that Shruti is God given. So Deva Vedas, for example, is God given, and hence you cannot amend it. But Smriti is man given. So You can have the marriage code. Yajna Valkya had one, Mitakshara had another, Manu had. You can all scrap all that. You can bring in a new Smriti to say marriages should be this, and there should be no difference between dowry is evil. All that you can put it in a. We have not done it. Nobody has said no Manu Smriti, no Yajnavalkya, no Mitakshara. Now we are going to have a new one. And you call all the sadhus together and tell them to prepare it. And give them a copy of our constitution and say that it should meet the requirements here. So these are much wider, broader things, because in the world, Hindus are now becoming important. There are no more coolies. There are no more slaves. There are no more just picking stones from one place and putting in another. They are IT people. They have brains. They know economics. Now the country which conquered you and looted you has a Hindu as a prime minister. I don't know how long he'll last, but he is a prime minister. I mean, the country which says it's Christian, and the queen is queen, or now the king adheres to that. That has a Hindu has a thing. It's a major revolution is taking place. I don't know about that person's character, the man who's become the prime minister, but I do think that the event is indication that the Hindu revival, which was there. Hindus were the most prosperous countries in the world. Everybody came from all over to India. So all these dimensions now are necessary for us to think about.
Dr. Swamy, one viewer from New York City, Mr. Arish
Yes.
Sahani, has raised this question. He is worried that wherever Hindus are there in other countries of the world or neighboring countries, they have been either prosecuted, killed, or converted. That thing is on the screen. So he says, what is the way forward on this issue? The question on the screen, especially Bangladesh, Afghanistan, Pakistan, and all the Muslim countries.
Yeah. Harish Sani in New York is one of the pioneers in the Hindu movement in United States, especially in New York. So he's asked a question. I'm flattered. I think very highly of him, and he has made a huge sacrifice of his commercial career to be able to hold annual functions for Hindus and so on. I mean, he has brought in a lot of rethinking. So he has asked this question. I would only say, if you have a Hindu government, it must behave like a Hindu government. See, I mean, I don't think much of that girl who was part of the BJP. What is it? Going on television and speaking. Nupur something, Nupur.
Nupur Sharma.
I mean, our ambassador says that she's a fringe element. She's a spokesman of the party. I mean, maybe she's a fringe element. I don't know, but then how she's a spokesman of the party? And so I think we had an opportunity. If the BJP was a genuine Hindu party, everybody would fall in line. They have already fallen in line a lot. Look at Ram Setu today. Look at Ram Mandir. The Muslims agreed to vacate. People told me it will never happen. But they said, okay, in the court we lose, then we will accept another place. And of course, theologically also, masjid is not a religious place. It is wrong to compare a masjid with a temple. Our temple, this is a special temple because Ram was born there. There's no other place in the country where Ram was born. You see, I can have a Ram temple in Tamil Nadu, but that's not a Ram Janmabhoomi temple. So that's why we were fighting. And there are only two more left now. One is Krishna Janmabhoomi and the other is Janvapi Jyotirling Mandir. So, other than that, if the Muslims demolish some masjid, mandir somewhere, we'll build it somewhere nearby. We don't have to demolish that masjid to build because there is no sanctity. The sanctity is only for the image. If the image is intact, you build another temple a little further away. But these three, Ram temple, Krishna temple, and Kashi Vishwanath, they cannot be built anywhere else. They have to be built there. And if you have built a masjid there, too bad for you. And masjid can be shifted, masjid can be broken. All over in Saudi Arabia and Turkey and all that, doing it all the time. But it is not considered a religious place. It's a place for congregation to read namaz and nothing more. So these are the things that have to be put across. And should have been put across in a way that all those who were Qatar Muslims, they had Pakistan. We created 1/3 of India was cut so that these people can have a country of their own. Now you come and say, no, they will continue to have a country, a separate identity in India. No, culturally, I cannot.
Dr. Swamy, you just now mentioned about Hindutva people in government. Actually, the observation is that when people get power, they change. Samajwadi people, socialist people, when they go to power, they become Punjivadi, the capitalist. Similarly, the Hindutvadi people, when they get the power, they become secular. And we have observed this not only in last 8 years, but we have also observed in the previous 6 years. So in last 14 years out of the independence,
listen,
we have seen Hindutvadi forces have been put to vote, put in power, central government, but then they become secular.
Listen, would you say that if Sardar Patel had become the prime minister, he would have also become secular?
Who knows?
What do you mean, who knows? As deputy prime minister, he went to Calcutta and held a press meeting, a public meeting, and the butchering was going on in Dhaka and other places in what was then called East Pakistan. And he said, listen to me, if you don't stop this killing of Hindus, I will come and stop it. Next day it stopped.
Even in Somnath temple.
Somnath temple? Is that what is they broke it, now they're building it. Oh, Nehru drew up such a thing. The problem is that we followers are weak, not the leaders are weak. We select weak. ये एक adjusting type है, वो बड़ा कट्टरपंथी है. Moraji was, but he never got a chance. And I can tell you that in the freedom was got by Subhash Chandra Bose, but we don't hardly recognize him. Ambedkar, you just read his books. What he said should be done. You should have used that and said Ambedkar says this. So these are escapism to say all these people are the same. Once they become changed. Kick out Mr. whoever it is who is not following your party line. After all, Mr. Modi got Uttarakhand temples nationalized. He should have been sacked at that time. And I certainly will, if he opposes on the 10th of this month, when the Ram Setu matter comes, if he says, no, I will not agree to making it a national heritage monument, it is my birthright to tell him that please, the government should resign. Mr. Modi should resign and go. This is not why I joined BJP or millions and millions of workers join. You are weak, so therefore you say, no, this is, when rape is inevitable, lie down and enjoy it. This is what the American slang is all about. Sorry for that crudity, but I thought that is more graphic.
It needs to have an impact, Dr. Swamy. Just following up on the earlier questions. I mean, at least in UK, we have a man who's dressed as Western, at least believes that he's a Hindu. But sadly, in your country, there is a man who's dressed as a Hindu, but I'm not sure if he's a Hindu. Uh, okay, so giving that, I mean, this party took a platform of Hindutva as being the prime objective. That is gone.
Yeah.
So, and
Yeah.
it is obvious, Dr. Swamy, as you said, even though Hindutva, whether it needs restructuring for the 20th century or not, is just for a party that is built upon the core ideology of Hindutva, keeps
Yes.
using it only as a pole plank. I mean,
No. Where is the
then
core
are
point?
we
No,
going to
people
say
get disappointed.
no?
No.
I understand.
Vajpayee
No,
lost
let
was
me.
because of that. What was Vajpayee's problem? People felt that he didn't do even a simple thing, and so that's how he lost. Although intellectuals are all enamored of him, wonderful man, so decent, so witty, so much this, and then what happens? India shining. His slogan was India shining, and ended up from 182 seats to 118 seats. You see.
Well, so exactly where I was
No,
coming from.
I will tell you, this is a very dangerous game to play. That now I've got it, I got power by Hindutva. Now Hindutva is taken for granted. Now I will get all the others also to join so that we are therefore in power forever. People are not like that.
So that's what I was about to ask you, Dr. Swamy. Having forgotten that and just trying to now, if you see all the campaigns today, BJP are talking about is only Vikas. Like
I
India
know.
shining. It's a repetition of Vikas. I mean, Vikas is just another repetition of what you just said, alluded to, was this India shining, which is a disaster for BJP. And Hindutva, even in the current elections, has been forgotten. So, what would be the impact? I mean, that's the question that I wanted to ask you in terms of the people's mindset. Are they seeing? I mean, given where we are as an economy, leave that as a side. But Hindutva, you still feel has a huge impact on the people voting.
Listen, when I was campaigning against the emergency, everyone told me in America, Indians included, and Indians here, particularly in South India, that democracy doesn't suit poor people. Some of us educated people, we enjoy democracy, we may vote for democracy, but if there's an election, the poor masses who got trains running on time and officers coming to office on time, they're all going to vote for her. And what happened? The educated South, that includes you and me, Mr. Ramesh, voted for Indira Gandhi overwhelmingly. They wiped out everybody else. And Karnataka same, Kerala same, Andhra same. It is these illiterate masses of UP, Bihar, Madhya Pradesh, Rajasthan, Haryana, all defeated not only every Congress MP, but they defeated Indira Gandhi also and Sanjay Gandhi also. No one foresaw that. I only, of course, was saying that if God wants us to be slaves, then let him get Indira Gandhi get elected, because I had no idea that this is how the public is going to react, and that poor public. It is the North Indian poor who got us back our democracy. So don't underestimate it on that basis. People are okay. You be okay, and you will see that people will be okay.
Thank you. Jagdishji, I mean, Arvindji, you can conclude it.
This is really unending debate. And Dr. Swamy, who masters the Hinduism or the deep knowledge of Hinduism that he has, he can go on and answer all our queries and questions, doubts. But naturally, we have a time limitation, so we have to halt at some time. We normally have 45 minutes. We violated that. But Dr. Swamy, as you suggested, Virat Hindustan Sangam must organize a debate on this issue, that what kind of reforms, restructuring, or renaissance. In fact, you have written a book about Hindu renaissance. what kind of what kind of Punarjagran we should have in Hindutva, and that
Punaruthan, I think.
Punaruthan or
Punaruthan.
Punarjagran, they are two both important things, and to what extent we can go, or do we call it modernization of Hindutva? I mean, so that is something which will come from a longer debate. Maybe 1 hour discussion is not sufficient, but thank you, Dr. Swamy, for enlightening all of us, and you have given the historical sequences, how Hindus developed and how Hindus have actually now deteriorated to certain extent under the I will not say present rule, but those who claim to be Hindutva, the Hindutva leaders, and as Ramesh said, they are fake Hindutva leaders. They are not really original Hindutva supporters. Thank you very much. Thank you, Ramesh. Thank you, Jagdish. Thanks the technical team led by Ashish Shetty, Gadgi Rakesh, Ishwar Iyer, Swaminathan, Tejas, Vishal Mehta, Ajesh, for organizing this Gyan Ganga Words of Wisdom series. 175 episodes we have completed. Next Sunday again with another topic, and Dr. Subramanian Swamy will be meeting. Viewers, thank you very much. See you next Sunday 8 p.m. Till then, Namaskar. Jai Hind.
Jai